People who can't say no. What is the worst thing you ended up doing for someone? My boss was like, "Do you want to stay extra tonight?" So I said yeah, and then a different boss said, "Do you want to cover the morning shift too?" So I said yes, and then I was asked if I wanted to cover the evening shift as well. So I said yes. And this is how I was once a bartender for 34 hours straight. I'm sorry for laughing at this, but what the hell? I bet you were dying. I've pulled 24-hour shifts in kitchens. I can't imagine 34 hours actually dealing with people. Drunk people. What happened when they figured out that you were in there for 34 hours? Wow, you were here for 34 hours? Can you work the afternoon shift? The reward that you get for being a strong worker is more work. Not me, but my brother. When we were young we were at a strip club, and when it came time to leave, one of the strippers asked us for a ride home. My brother, who can't say no to this day, accepted. As it turns out, she lived almost 2 hours away. As it turns out, when he pulled in front of her house, she decided to thank him with a blowjob right there and then. How do I know this? I had to watch from the back seat while my brother got a BJ from a stripper. Yeah, that's the worst thing he did to me because he can't say no. I was in a car once with a dude getting head from some random chick we'd met at a bar earlier that night, and I drunkenly blurted out, "Hey, where's my turn?" And the next thing I know she jumped into the front seat and gave me my turn. It doesn't hurt to ask. She was one of people who couldn't say no. Well, you could say he was also one of those who couldn't say no to herpes. Then again, I wouldn't say no to a blowjob. I graduated from high school a few months early, so I was outside riding my bike early in the afternoon waiting for my friends to get out of school so we could go ride. I was chilling at a bus stop and this dude pulled up in a white Chevy Impala and asked if I needed a job. I said yes, I sure did, even though I didn't, so he told me to meet him at his office down the street next to Texas Roadhouse. I rode my bike down there and it turned out that he was a Marine recruiter. I got all the way up to the door, touched the handle even, saw him sitting inside motioning me in, then I thought duck this, and went next door, and enlisted in the Navy that day. Never even thought about the military until that guy asked if I needed a job. Worst, and sometimes best, thing that happened, because I suck at saying no. Well, I could say no, I just couldn't say no to my mom. That was before. When the Xbox 360 came out, I played it at an uncle's house and was in love. I did a bunch of jobs for neighbors and whoever I could do stuff for to earn some money. I bought an Xbox on this local site you can sell stuff on and whatnot for $350 Xbox, controller, and a few games. Well, one day my mom says to me, "Your pappy, can I borrow your Xbox so we could watch movies?" Meaning at her friend's house, which she was staying over there for the night, drinking, from what I was told. So I let her. I didn't think anything of it. The next day she comes home without the Xbox. I couldn't get an answer out of her as to why she didn't bring it back. Asked many times, over and over. She sold it for drugs. She sold it for $40 worth of drugs. I was so torn by this, I haven't spoken to her since. She is dead to me. I busted my ass to get that Xbox just for her to get high. I miss that Xbox. Well, it was the worst thing I did for myself, actually. I've always hated sweet potatoes with a passion. But I was riding a bus one day here in South Korea and this Korean lady sitting next to me offered me some sweet potato. Not wanting to be rude, I accepted. Worst case scenario, I figured I'll have to choke down a bite of sweet potato or something. I'm a grown man, I can handle that. This lady proceeds to pull an entire sweet potato out of her purse, still hot and steaming, and offers it to me. She pulled out another one for herself and starts chowing down. So now I'm stuck on this bus next to her for 2-1/2 hours with a fresh sweet potato in my hands. I swallowed my pride and ate that entire thing. Even thanked her and told her it was delicious. Ugh, I'm getting nauseous just recalling that day. I'm gonna go lie down now. There's something sweet about the fact that she had brought an extra along for a stranger though. The sweet thing is the potato. Korean sweet potatoes are the cooked flesh of angels, and the only reason you don't like it is your demon's blood flowing through your veins. I once ended up hosting a Bible study at my house. I don't even go to church. I do whatever pleases Jesus. I joined a weekly Bible study for 6 months. I'm an atheist. I'm currently in my college badminton team without playing even once a game. We have once a semester to check in for a sport activity in order to get our grades. I wanted to go to badminton because my friends told me you just have to come and write your name on a list and that's it. So, when the teacher asked me what sport will I play, I said badminton, and then she replied, "You're pretty tall. Are you good at the game?" I said yes, and then she asked me to join the college team, and then I said yes again like a retard, because I couldn't think about any good excuses. Now we have our first team training in 3 days and I never held a badminton racket in my hand. I was living in a not great part of town, smoking a cigarette on my front porch, when a shady looking guy asked me for a ride to the corner store, which I'm pretty sure was also a drug den. I was nice and naive, so I said okay and drove the guy to the store. When we got there, he asked me to wait, which I was uncomfortable with, but this guy knew where I lived, so I didn't want to piss him off, since he seemed a bit unstable. After a few minutes, he came back out with another person, and I was told to drive to another place. So I drove to the other place, pulled into the driveway of a dilapidated house, and he told me to turn off my headlights. Then, the two of them started talking quietly to each other, and I heard the second person say something along the lines of, "Just let him go home, man. He did what you wanted him to." Then they got out of the car and the first guy told me to leave, but not to put my headlights on until I was back on the main road. I did, and made it home okay. I'm honestly surprised I made it out of that alive. My house was only a block away, and that was the last I ever saw of either of them. I have since learned to say no to shady characters. I don't know if this counts as can't say no or won't say no. My ex is French, and the first time I ever met his family they asked me if I'd ever had an omelette. I said no, and that I'd never even heard of it. That's when his father laughs and goes, "Only French people like an omelette." I pointed out that I'm Spanish, and that a lot of Spanish food features intestines and offal. I love black pudding, zeragus, brain, stomach, you name it, I will probably eat it. I pride myself in trying any food that is given to me. But no, his father insists that, as I'm not French, I will not like it. His mum said that the next time I was over she would make some. A few weeks later we come for another visit and they've made an omelette. Finally I get to try some. Now, if you know what an omelette is you probably already have an idea of where this story is going. If you don't, imagine it as a pig anus stuffed with other pig anuses, grilled until it bursts, and fills your house with its putrid stench. As soon as I saw that thing on my plate I knew I was ducked. But is ducking dad go she won't like it. So I ate an entire goddamned sausage. And then, when it was finished, I asked for seconds. I honestly gagged while eating, and had to coat everything in mustard cream sauce just to keep it down. But I ate a sausage and a half. Every bite was torture. But I sure showed him. TLDR wouldn't say no. Ate pig anus, then asked for seconds. Building a deck, moving furniture, and laying new trim for a girl I worked with. It took 3 days. She only had me do it so she could sell the house for more money, and she paid me with a half-empty bottle of birthday cake flavored vodka. Addendum, she was married at the time. I sang 2 sets of songs at a crowded restaurant while my struggling artist friend played guitar and backed me up. He begged me to do it, and I figured when he heard how terrible I sounded at our rehearsal he would let me back out. But no. The looks on the faces of the patrons, somewhere between sympathy and dumbfoundedness, will haunt me until I die. Why did you do more than one song lol? My friend doesn't have much, and I couldn't just leave him. The evening meant a lot to him. But I still don't understand how he didn't see that I was ruining it. When I can't say no, I just end up buying things and spending way too much money. In the past couple years, I've spent hundreds of dollars on a couple niche porn sites just because they make regular videos using my favorite rubber ducky. I bought my father a cabin with the agreement he would make monthly payments on it. We had it all laid out, and I was happy to help him fill a dream. After 6 months and lots of arguments I realized he was never going to pay me anything, so I began the process of getting the house back. After a lot of time passes and he has remodeled most of the house, he offers to sell it back to me at a 150% markup, saying I could resell it. He made it sound like I was crushing his dreams. I gave him a property I had that was worth $5k and an additional $5k for remodel to the house, and we agreed. Keep in mind I'm out what I paid for the house in the first place. He has gained $10k in assets and a home for free for 2 years. Turned out he has tried to sell the property and nobody wanted it. He was selling it for 300% what I paid. Under my nose. He lied to me and took advantage of me. Here I'm 4 years later, 6 years after buying it, and I still can't sell it. My mother lives nearby the house, so I asked her to help me sell it / show it, and I would give her 15% sell price. I live 1500 miles away. Turns out she had not been trying to sell it, but rather she was living in it and lying. I found out earlier this month. My teenage sister posted a selfie, and I could see the bedroom in her reflection behind her. I called my mother immediately and told her to get out. She is refusing to send me my keys, and I currently have no way to get to Texas to take care of this. She has also cut off contact between my sister and me. I couldn't break up with this annoying, clingy girl Janice, so I told her my work was relocating me to Yemen. Then I actually flew to Yemen. When we get to Yemen, can I stay with you? Yemen, why not? Back in my drug using days I was fairly generous. I know how awful dope sickness is, so I would often spot my using friends small amounts so they could go to work or something. I ended up quitting heroin for almost 3 years when an old acquaintance messaged me saying he finally had my money. It worked out to be about $60, and I was like, duck yeah, I'll buy some beers. When I finally got over to his place, he had a slew of pills out and said I could take what I wanted. Needless to say, I got addicted again because saying no to free drugs is incredibly hard. My aunt is getting divorced from her douchebag husband of 15 years. She still does his laundry because she can't say no. The divorce finalizes this January, but has been in progress for about 8 months. No idea how she manages to actually be the one to initiate a divorce, but can't tell him to duck off about his stained tighty white ties. Not me, but my parents. We have lots of relatives in Europe. My dad had a lot of brothers and sisters, but he's lived in North America since his early 20s. Random relatives, like a niece's daughter who he's never met, will get in touch, saying they're coming to Canada for a month. My parents will pick them up at the airport 2 hours away, let them stay for a month while they feed them and give them tours of the area, and then the person goes back home. This happens about once every 2 years with some new distant family member looking for a free vacation in Canada. All they need is effort. It's a huge strain on my parents who are elderly, but they just can't seem to shut it down. If it was relatives they actually know whose company they enjoy, no problem, but geez, one time it was a niece whom they'd met once when she was a child, her husband and their 2 unruly rude children. I would not dream of flying to Europe and imposing myself on strangers for a month, but apparently it's just expected that you roll out the welcome mat for anyone you're remotely related to. All I know is, if these people contact me with an announcement that they're coming to visit, I'm going to give them a list of hotels in the area and wish them a nice holiday. Let my cow Orca move in with me now. I have this messy bitch all in my house, ducking stuff up, letting her dog pee everywhere, and smoking in her bedroom. That's terrible. Why is she letting her dog smoke in the bedroom? I paid for WinRAR. Edit. To all of you asking, I was young and dumb.